Children with disabilities face unique challenges throughout their lives. Among these is finding a place where they feel included with other kids. 4-H is such a place. With diverse programs tailored to children with differing abilities, 4-H is where all kids can find success. 4-H builds strong communities by fostering a welcoming, inclusive environment in clubs, camps, and activities. Jared, Marisa, and Riley made the most of the opportunities 4-H offered. Their stories are models of inclusion for youth with special needs in 4-H. Riley Tade was born with a love of farming. He was also born with cerebral palsy. The disease causes him migraine headaches and affects his motor skills. He often relies on a walker. In spite of these challenges, there is nothing he would rather do than raise and show champion goats.
You know, Riley started working with his goats that he's showing right now last December. It's what people don't see is how hard and how much work ethic the kids develop, you know, from their projects.
The months Riley has spent feeding, grooming, and training his goats have paid off, with championships and an increased sense of self-confidence and independence. Riley's dad modified his walker to enable him to lead his goats in the show ring. He also received support from his local 4-H club.
4-H has helped Riley's confidence by giving him leadership opportunities. It's also surrounded him with peers that are encouraging and willing to help, even when they're in competition with him.
Riley is among a growing number of kids with special needs who are drawn to 4-H by the wide variety of projects offered. Finding the right one is key to each child's success.
Youth with special needs become a part of the program, they participate in the program, we empower them to have the same leadership skills just like every other 4-H member. They're not any different.
With a little help from family and some special friends, Riley is acquiring the confidence and skills that will prepare him for a more independent future in agriculture.
He really doesn't view himself with having special needs, so there's really nothing that he doesn't think he can do. His confidence, his self-confidence is probably his biggest strength.
I would describe it as being welcoming to all, creating an environment where individuals feel comfortable, feel engaged, and have the opportunity to participate.
4-H is very individual, and each of those kids have different needs, and so we can really tailor our program to meet their needs. And I think that's one of the reasons that 4-H is so appealing to families who have special needs children. My goal is to help make every child have a positive experience in 4-H, and I want every family to feel like 4-H is welcoming to them and that we are doing all that we can to help them be successful.
If they find out they have a youth with special needs that's going to be a part of their club, maybe talk with their staff member in their county to find out if they've visited with the parents or not, or if the club leader needs to visit with the parents.
And just ask them, you know, tell me how you think that we can change our program or modify our program to help you be successful.
If you have an idea of the needs and the things that an individual with a disability has, then you can plan your activity to make sure that it's accommodating for that individual.
Our concerns not only with 4-H but with any organization that Jared might be involved in was that he be accepted, that he would be a member, not an addition, but actually included and embraced.
When we started going to 4-H, we began to understand that some of the activities, there wasn't a reason she couldn't participate, just a little slower, or maybe if you're making an art project, it really didn't matter if her art project looked as good as the next kid's. They started seeing what she could do instead of what she couldn't do.
Understanding that individual better and really kind of figuring out what are the things that will help that individual become successful in your activity.
It all starts with not being afraid to talk about it, because a lot of times parents want to talk about it. And I think people are afraid they're going to say the wrong thing. I think they're afraid that they will offend someone or they won't use the right terminology. So it's important for us as youth professionals to educate ourselves so that we don't do that.
It's a dialogue. I mean, I think that a lot of people go into it thinking that they need to be an expert in a disability. The person that's an expert is probably the individual that is living the life and presenting with that disability.
I think a leader, as well as anybody, should consider the person first and to always address them as a person or a child. And then if they have different abilities to them, then they can refer to that.
So you would say, John has autism, or he's a person with autism. And that's why I say people with disabilities, because you put the person first. You will hear terms like that autistic child and things like that. He's a child first that has autism.
Marisa Todd is a lifelong 4-H member, with 3 years as a Clover Kid and 11 years as a 4-H'er. Marisa, who has Down syndrome, is proud of her 4-H experiences and work as a 4-H camp counselor.
I like 4-H a lot. It's just a good opportunity with a lot of things, especially with all these activities that 4-H has put me through. And it's really fun to interact with other people.
Marisa took to 4-H right away. She especially loves 4-H camp. After a few years as a camper, she became a counselor, welcoming the new kids and preparing them for camp activities.
The kids kind of get scared and they don't know what they're doing and they don't realize what's happening. As counselors, we can help them get over that fear.
4-H has given Marisa the opportunity to serve in other leadership roles, including song leader, photographer, historian, and also club president.
I call this meeting to order.
She has dreamed of being president of this club for probably 7 years, and she did pretty well. She took her role very seriously. She learned a lot about responsibility for different activities, and that's really played out well in her schooling as well.
These leadership opportunities encouraged Marisa to try public speaking, and she did well enough to compete at the state fair.
It was a little scary at first, but then when I got used to it, 4-H did help me a lot with talking to others, and it's a reliever to talk to other people.
Her view of her world has expanded because of 4-H.
When I went through 4-H, I thought it was great. It was really wonderful that I got into a group that appreciated who I was and who my family was and helped me build up.
You ask people first. You don't just jump in and do for them, because you could be very offending to them. That ask if there's anything you can do, and that makes them feel better, and then you know if you're doing the right thing or not. We hold our deadlines fast, that a deadline is a deadline. However, we do make allowances for individuals with disabilities that they may have assistance to a certain level. They may have a scribe, or they may have someone that allows to help them to a certain level. But our deadlines are deadlines. I think chaperones need to be prepared of the youth that they're taking on a trip, of maybe limitations that they might have. Some may have a sleep disorder, some may have difficulty walking, and they've got to be prepared for those situations, such as taking a group to Washington, D.C. I had a youth that had trouble walking a long distance. We packed a wheelchair with us, so when they got tired, we all took turns in helping them get around, and they were comfortable.
It's making sure that the information that you're providing is communicating to a wide variety of populations, and including individuals with disabilities. There are things that you can do, like symbols that talk and speak to the disability community. A symbol of a wheelchair kind of lets an individual know that you're willing to provide an accessible opportunity for them. And then just being direct, and intentional in saying that we want to include all individuals, which includes individuals with and without disabilities. The other thing I would do too is utilize the disability community, disability serving organizations. When you start putting information out, making sure that you're including those individuals and organizations that have some specialty in working with the population.
Word of mouth is our best recruitment tool. Done all kinds of brochures and send letters home with parents, but I found the kids talking to other kids is my best recruitment.
I introduced a friend into 4-H, and they really enjoyed it too, so they're still coming in and they're having a good time.
Jared Niemeyer is an advocate for persons with disabilities. Jared, who has Down syndrome, has had the opportunity to share his unique perspective on both the national and international stage. The first step of his journey began with 4-H.
I started in 4-H. I was 8.
Jared was very eager to join 4-H because he had seen it for a few years because his older brother had been in 4-H.
I did raising beef because we have animals. We have small cows, and my cow have babies, calves. I named one calf named Purple.
He was very safe and worked with his livestock every day. He spent hours preparing and working with his animals. They weren't only his projects, they were his pets.
I love my cows and I love them.
Jared's 4-H experience gave him the confidence to try new things. Inspired to get more involved with Special Olympics, he became a part of the Youth Activation Committee, working with programs at the state and the national level. Jared's work with the YAC included the annual Capitol Hill campaign, discussing disability issues with legislators, and meeting a variety of celebrities and awareness initiatives, including Nickelodeon's Day of Play.
What he didn't know was he was going to be running with Joe Jonas of the Jonas Brothers. And so he ran through the Capitol Mall with a group of athletes running with Joe Jonas, which led to more opportunities.
Jared co-led a YAC work committee to promote inclusive practices within community and education. He met with Vice President Biden and later President and First Lady Obama as one of the Special Olympics unified generation.
Yes, he told me about Jared, I like you, and we're each fan.
In 2014, Jared was invited to speak at the United Nations on behalf of Special Olympics International. Jared was the only panelist with an intellectual disability and spoke of the power of inclusion, with sports being the vehicle to provide opportunity, promote awareness, and inclusive living.
I spoke about inclusive for sports, for Special Olympics.
I think he would have never encountered and had the experiences that he had if he hadn't, as a young person, gained confidence, gained skills, grew as an individual, and had the courage to try new things. So we owe a huge debt of gratitude to 4-H. And to think that I think they really began in our home community, working with friends and family and neighbors and learning to be who he was. I think that's part of what 4-H has really meant to him.
I think you'll run into situations where you won't be successful. I mean, and that's okay to fail, because I mean, even in a failure, there's things that you learn. But you can't be afraid to fail, you know, and so you have to take on, you know, new challenges and new experiences because it helps you grow.
If everyone approaches it with the proper mindset that we're going to look at our program and we're going to make the modifications that we need to for this child and this family to be successful. And I think if everybody will approach it with that in mind, then there's no question that it will succeed.
Not only did Jared grow and learn, but he also gave something to his club members. He gave something back. They learned about acceptance. They learned that every child, every individual has something to give. He has lifelong friends because they learned that lesson with him.
I would hate to say that we've become a 4-H project because I don't want to be the project, but in a sense, including Marisa in 4-H has given all the rest of the families a new perspective in learning how to deal with people and just to interact with people that are not like them.
I think 4-H does inclusion powerfully in a very accurate way. They include every child, whatever their ability is. And it's simply about accepting every person, helping them grow from their level of ability, whatever that level of ability is.
Put your kids in uncomfortable situations and you be back behind them to catch them and to help them. And really just teach your community what inclusion looks like. It's really not a hard thing to do. Just love being who you've been made.
And 4-H gave me opportunity to become a better me.